Please stand on this side. Constructive Cathedral, 1937 abstract painting. This painting is an Aleph class, and it is the same painting that is in the same museum in the real world. It was put by Grigory Volkov. Look at this other class. This class is a paper photograph of the painting. It is not in the museum. It is somewhere in Mexico. We don't know exactly where, but it is still something real. A photograph somewhere in the real world of this painting in the real world. Now, let's see this. This class is not a painting or a photograph. It is an image. It is not anywhere. It is pure abstraction. Grigory Volkov, the person we are talking about, starts and ends here. Grigory's story is curious. His father was a historian, cartographer, and mystic all at once. He prayed in front of the image of the Tsar and bowed before the icon of Saint Gabriel. Little Grigory listened carefully to the stories of his father, who told him about the geography and origin of all the Russias, of a wide Russia, of the historical cycles that link the civilization of Elam with the ancient Sumerian city of Ur. He showed him maps that were cycles where the continents are not represented with images. The city of Muromsk is located in the middle of the Russian cycle and heads south, entering the sphere of change. From his father, he heard the Sanskrit word nirukta, the non-obvious, the Hindu method of sacred linguistics that analyzes not the etymology of words, but their resemblance to metric phonemes, similar to the operations of Jewish Kabbalah. His aim was for little Grigory to metaphysically discover the East, return to Russia the ancient teachings of Hinduism and Taoism, which in turn could change the Russian conscience, avoiding any atheist and rationalist contest. It is difficult to know what impact all these stories and images had on little Grigory, who did not learn to speak until he was 10 years old. When he did, he gave himself completely to the Bolshevik cause, the Red Russia, that his father detested, to the study of Fyodorov's work and his theory of the artificial resurrection of the dead, an unequivocal sign of the reign of the Antichrist and the conversion of churches into museums. Finally, to the study of the Red Aleph, where we are now. The publication of his grammar of the interpreters completely renewed the symbol system of the Aleph language, but it was the algebra of his time that catapulted him to the top, and at the same time it hastened his downfall. Today, Grigory is missing. Excuse me. No. Let me clarify that. There are many times in Aleph. Time is also class. There are two kinds of time here, the time of the museum and the time of the painting. Time is not linear. There are two functions that move in a spiral. Time moves them away. A close relationship ceases to exist between them. Then time brings them together again. When the time of a class expires, the class does not disappear, but it no longer has a way to manifest itself. We can only see those classes whose time has not expired. This class has run out of time, and yet we can see it. That was Grigory's great discovery and invention. What we see is not a class. What we see is the interpretation of the class. Now, the Aleph interpreter not only interprets, but can also create. Why do we see? Because time was created by the interpreter. What we see is not the class. It is the interpretation of the class. With this, Grigory crossed a limit. He knew that Aleph could never accept that. In his time, algebra was prohibited. He suffered persecution and imprisonment. Grigory was just the thread of the great Russian embroidery that his father needed for him. Now, let's go to the next room.